Hi everyone, welcome to the 11th live stream of the Music Hack Space. Today we are welcoming Kate Stone, Dr. Kate Stone. Hello, Kate.
Hi, good to see you.
Great to have you today. So Kate and I are actually on the board of the MMA. That's how I had the pleasure to meet her, and she's the chair of the MMA. But she's also doing a lot of other things. And today we have a range of topics to discuss. She's at heart a music hacker doing a lot of creative applications with music. We can talk today about hydroponics as well, which is a passion of her. We can talk about Novalia, and we will present very shortly what Novalia does. And we can talk about MIDI and Bluetooth. But first, how are you doing, Kate?
Yeah, I'm all good. I mean, like everyone, focusing on trying to stay safe, stay sane. Clearly not staying sane. Yeah, all good. You know, we've all gotta make sure we have a place to live, healthy, physical and mental. Still have our money coming from somewhere, which is really challenging right now. And also making sure we have food security. They're the four things that were on my mind the whole time. So, yeah, all good.
And you're not based in Britain, despite your accent.
Yeah, I'm actually based in the US, so I'm from the UK. As some would say, I was born at a very young age in the UK. That's not my joke; it's someone else's. Yeah, I was born in the UK, but I've kind of lived all over in my life, and I'm on a little mountain, only 1,000 feet, just above Woodstock in New York. So I'm in the Catskills in the mid Hudson Valley, and occasionally we get visited by a bear who likes to go through our trash.
Okay, well, that sounds like a great place to be on lockdown. At least you have some nature around you, I suppose.
Yeah,
Better than New
yeah,
York City.
yeah, definitely.
That's great. Well, I'm going to bring up the presentation of Novalia, which is a company you have created. So here we go. It's going to be a short introduction of the show reel.
You know the vibe, after party just started, even though it's after half three. There's no empty glasses walking past me.
So that was great. So what did we just see? What is Novalia doing?
So what we do is we use conductive
Oh,
ink. Oh, can you hear me? Okay.
yes. I'm sorry. Uh, I'm so sorry about that. I need
That's
to
okay.
practice my sharing audio skills.
That's all good. Hopefully you can still hear me and see me okay. So what we do is we print conductive ink onto paper and plastic, and we laminate a graphic on top. And then we create posters or packaging or walls or album covers or pizza boxes sometimes that you can touch. And when you touch the graphic, it plays some sound or it connects via Bluetooth to a smartphone or a laptop. So, you know, I'm a technologist. My background is I studied electronics and physics. And I really like getting into the depths of how things work, down to moving electrons around. But then, you know, it's building a tech platform, and then for me, it's about working with creatives. So my colleagues are artists and designers, and it's never about technology. So we're always about trying to create magical experiences for people, so that someone can touch an everyday thing and then have some kind of emotional reaction, you know, whatever that might be, whether it makes them laugh or makes them cry. But it's really never about showing off tech. It's always about trying to create these magical experiences for people. And we've been fortunate over the last few years to do some of those things for some of the world's biggest brands, which has been really fun.
I picked up on that magical aspect in a few of the talks that you've done and writings. There's often we envisage the future like Minority Report, where we have an augmentation of user interfaces that embed with our physical sense, but it all feels very technical. And I think I don't know if I heard you or if I made it up, but the way you consider that magic is more like Harry Potter, where you have like these journals that are actually interactive.
Yeah, I mean, it is magic. Like if someone asks me how do we do what we do, it is magic. What we do is we use magic to create things. I truly believe that. You know, the reason. Yeah, so I mean, I'll try and come back to that. But you know, when we're technologists and we look at the technology and then we imagine the future, we extrapolate the technology we have now to the future. We look at the journey of the technology. So we see a car and we imagine the car flying. You know, we see something static and we imagine if it could talk to us. You know, so we end up coming up with things like, you know, like the Jetsons and the flying cars is an analogy that I use, but not people now don't know what the Jetsons was, but it was a cartoon show before my time. But you know, an imaginary future. And Minority Report, you know, that's what we imagine, but we're actually human beings, and you know, and we're emotional, and we have emotional needs, and we like community. And if we really want to think about what the future is, then we should look at human beings, look at the needs of human beings, and extrapolate that to the future, and then imagining what the technology can do to support us as humans. You know, so a technologist would have predicted from say the 50s a future of flying cars, whereas maybe a social anthropologist or a psychologist would have probably predicted social media, you know, and got a very different vision of the future. So I don't imagine the future will look like those things. I imagine the future will look more like the past than the present. The future will look more like Mary Poppins, or it'll look, you know, as you say, more like Harry Potter. And you know, there's a few reasons there. Is technology used to, like a computer used to fill a room, then it filled our desk, then it filled our lap, then our hand, our wrist. Someone injected an NFC chip in my hand, so now the technology is small enough to go inside us. So technology is on this journey of shrinking and becoming smaller and smaller and smaller until we can no longer see it. And there's a human side to us where we're very nostalgic. We like things to be old-fashioned, to be reminded of an old-fashioned past. And when we design things, we often design things that look old-fashioned. Because I think, you know, somehow it connects us with this sort of vision or memory of the past. So we're constantly designing things to look old-fashioned. And so when you combine invisible technology with nostalgia, creating things that are old-fashioned, I imagine that the technology will be there within these everyday, ordinary-looking objects that now has tech inside. And when I think about magic, a magician takes existing doable things that are all around us, combines them together in a way that they've not been combined before, communicates with an audience or, you know, a person, communicates something that they're going to do with some sort of misdirection or by design, and creates a sense from a human point of view of something that could or couldn't happen, and then allows that combination of existing working technology to be put together with sleight of hand and misdirection to create the appearance of doing something that is impossible. And when we see something that's impossible, it surprises us and it delights us, and that's what creates a magical experience. So when an engineer looks at what I've done, or another scientist, And when they pull apart what I've done and they look behind the poster, they go like, oh, okay, I get it now. You've not done anything. You've not done anything at all. There's nothing new here, you know. But before that point, they're touching the thing I've made, or they're experiencing the thing I've made, and I see this smile run across their face, or surprise, and it's triggered an emotional reaction. You know, and magic is no longer magic when you know how the magic trick's done. And so, you know, I don't claim that we're doing anything clever, but what I love doing is combining design, which, you know, can be seen as misdirection, with existing tech that's inherently manufacturable, to try and create magical experiences with everyday objects that can surprise, delight, and trigger emotions in people. So, long answer, but that's why I believe that what we do is done using magic.
Well, I'm sure that many people would agree with your vision of magic if they experience the paper that you've built. And we have an example at hand that I'm going to bring here, and then you will demonstrate a bit later. So this is a video of how you made this cover for an album of DJ Qbert a few years ago, and so we're going to see a little bit of how it was made, and then I think you have a demo prepared where you can show us how people who bought this album could actually play with it at home. So let's listen to that video.
Using as little as possible and kind of creating it out of everyday things. So this is made with one piece of card, one layer of printed cardboard, and one chip, which is...
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't press the right button.
Passive touch and for Bluetooth 4, and that connects to one app. So the challenge has just been bringing all of that together, and how on earth do we can make one? How do we make 1,000?
I'm coming through with jujitsu. I'm coming through with jujitsu. I'm coming through with jujitsu.
Oh my God. I've not seen that video for so long. That's crazy. And my colleagues look different.
So yeah, there was a video from 2015, and we see there was a lot of paper involved. We could see the process whereby you screen print small PCBs that you embed into the paper, and it's so flat that it feels like it's just a cover, cardboard cover, nothing more.
Yeah, that's the goal. It's you know, it's to just allow the technology to come together, and then just think about it from a creative perspective. You know, what would be magical? A whole bunch of years ago, maybe it was, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, I did a talk, and I wanted to show, you know, what we could do with conductive ink, but I didn't really want it to be about conductive ink, and I wanted to do, I like to create things that are just a little odd and are a long way from, you know, what you might imagine, what we might think of. And the reason why I like to do that is to try and move people's minds to something that's not close to where our minds are right now. And so, you know, that's why I just thought, that's why I thought it'd be fun to turn a piece of card into DJ decks, because it's just an odd thing to do. You know, how can a piece of paper become DJ decks? And so I did that for that talk. And I think it's probably the first time that anyone had shown Bluetooth MIDI anywhere. It was right at the beginnings of that being possible. In fact, it wasn't even really Bluetooth MIDI wasn't even out then when we did that. It was when it was iOS 8 with an iPhone 4S. The iPhone 4S was the first iPhone with Bluetooth Low Energy. And we had to do a lot of hacking to get that to work, a lot of hacking. And, you know, I could describe it briefly now, but we took a piece of our print that had our normal audio module on it, and then we wired that into a little Bluetooth module that we created. And then that's the demo that I had. And then that Bluetoothed to a Bluetooth dongle in a Beagle board. And then that was taken by the Beagle board and pushed out to another USB port that was spoofing a Newmark DJ controller, which at the time you could buy one of those that went through their, not the Lightning, it was before Lightning connector into an iPad. And so we took the output of that DJ controller and sniffed all of the MIDI commands that it was sending, and then we recreated those in the Beagle board. So when it received commands over Bluetooth, it would send those out. And when you plug that Beagle board into the iPad, it would say, hey, you've connected a Newmark DJ controller. And then that worked with DJ, the software there. That's how we did that. And then Qbert saw that talk online and he reached out and he says, hey, I'm bringing an album out. Can you do that in my album cover? And I have this curse where someone says, so I shouldn't say this out loud, but when someone asks, I just say yes and figure out on the way what exactly did they ask and how exactly am I going to do it. And then we ended up doing the album cover for DJ Qbert because he saw something I did crazy in an online talk.
This is amazing, and I find it very inspiring that you can build the technology and don't manufacture it in big quantities, but build a demonstrator that's inspiring enough that that people will ask you to do new things that you hadn't thought of before.
Yeah, I can expand on that a little as well. So I started this a long time ago. I started this maybe around 15 years ago. When I started, so many things weren't a thing. Kickstarter wasn't a thing. Arduino wasn't a thing. Makespaces weren't really a thing. I mean, a makespace to me was how I grew up, what I did at school, what we had, in the garage at home. I just thought that was an odd thing that we did, and I didn't ever think that it would be something that would be a thing that, that lots of people would be interested in. I just felt an odd person for messing around with things like that, or soldering and stuff, when I was a kid. So many things weren't a thing, we weren't really buying things on Amazon. We weren't really doing things on Facebook. Sorry. One of my radio buddies. So we had to create everything from scratch, So I started off trying to print my own transistors and print my own displays and batteries and things, which I quickly realized was going to take, several $1 billion and many, many years, and just discovered that you could do things with a microcontroller. And as I said, Arduino wasn't a thing back then. So we started off with the microchip, the microchip chip, I forgot what it's called now. And then we moved to the Bluetooth, the TI MSP430 microchip PIC to the TI MSP430, and then we moved to the AT Tiny. And the AT Tiny, the Atmel AT Tiny is actually what the Arduino came from, or it is what the Arduino is really. Someone wrote a software platform for it. But what I realized is that we were using chips that people prototyped toys, Happy Meal toys or Mattel toys in the US or in the UK. They prototyped with those, and then they would that prototype would go to China, where they would use Taiwanese chips to create the products that they would make in high volume at low cost. And it bugged me that if we did something using prototyping equipment and tools, and then someone asked us to do something in volume, it was going to be impossible to do it in volume, because moving from a prototyping platform to a production platform, it's like, move over, someone else has to do it. They have to code it in assembly. They do it on chips that aren't even flashed. I mean, there's chips that are born that way, or OTPs. And 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 it can kill a project. And so what I wanted to do is build our own platform that would work with production volume style chips that you would normally only get in Asia, although the Bluetooth chip we use is from Nordic. And the audio chip we use, we wrote a lot of that code in assembler. It's a one-time programmable chip from a Taiwanese company. There's no community you can get support from. There's just nothing out there. There's a handful of engineers who have access to it. Even to get access to the data sheets, you just can't. But it meant that we'd created things that were production ready. It also meant we created a platform that we couldn't open source, because you just can't really open source that. And I started to realize that actually, even if you open source stuff, I can't code. So some open source code, I don't even know my way around GitHub. It's just not very accessible to me. So we built a platform that uses drag and drop down lists, upload something to a web page, plug an SD card in, and we built a platform, our own prototyping platform, that allows us to create demos and samples in minutes. Like, we can create an app for a piece of our print in literally a few minutes, but moving from that to production it's done already. It's the same chips, it's the same code, and then we can just make 1,000 of them or make 10,000 of them, and that's the platform we built. And we built that starting 10 years ago, and before there was any of these things, and the thing that's sort of the only thing that makes me sad is that it doesn't really get used by many other people, but it's there for anyone to use it, if they want. Yeah, so we built this whole platform. A long answer, or a long interruption there, but that's what we do.
Ooh. So there was some noises that came when you were talking, and it made me realize that you are surrounded by interactive paper. So what we can see in your background as just paper is there's more to it.
Yeah, no, all these things make noise, right? So this is, well, I can show you the album cover. Hopefully the album cover will behave. It's an old demo, so we'll see how well that works. See what you can see here. So I can put that in a loop, and then half loop. Always good to cover a failed mix with a bit of air horn. and you can scratch these decks. So there's that, and then there's this poster. We did this with a company called Ant Food, and they did the graphics and some awesome audio, and it's an intergalactic alien music remixing rap battle, and you trigger different audio loops and then different vocals. Yeah. All the audio is quantized. I'm going to turn this off now. All the audio is quantized, so it only comes in when you press it, and it has these music loops that are quantized, and then it has vocal loops that are quantized as well, and then it has one shots that you can drop over the top. So that's what that does. This is a box we made for IKEA, for a store opening in Memphis. So we made a pop-up box with an IKEA design with a pop-up of Beale Street, and then we sampled the sounds of the home. So this is a kitchen drum kit, and then that's tapping a glass, and these are water droplets that we changed the pitch of. And then we added in some guitar to create a blues music remix. Oh gosh, sorry, because I was hearing a strange noise and I was wondering who was talking to me. Yeah, so that's that, and I can show you some other things either now, or I can show you some other things in a moment. Sorry,
Well,
I thought I heard you. I just heard this really quiet voice, and I thought it was you telling me we can't hear you or something. But it's my radio buddy. So.
all right. Okay. No, I wasn't talking. Well, I have one more video that I want to bring up, which was taken last Friday, and this is well, this can actually maybe lead to another demo. Let's see if I have better luck than before to share everything correctly.
I couldn't hear any audio. I don't know if the audio was playing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you, Marek, and someone else who commented as well on YouTube for that. Let me start that again. And I'm sorry. I should have read that before. I was hearing it myself, and it's a shame.
Okay. We're all learning. This is all new. I mean, life has become a live stream, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's been quite disastrous today for me. All the videos had problems, but here we go. This should work. My apologies, everyone. Right, you will have the audio.
Before we start the show tonight, it's going to be a fun one, an interesting one. We asked our friend Bootsy Collins if he wanted to do anything for our show, just because we were a fan of Bootsy. Here's something he came up with. Him and his friend Dr. Kate Stone. They invented this thing. So if you just press it now and then you just hear it.
Jingle, jangle. Looks like you got a ring on the bell, Funketeer.
So anyways, Bootsy is going to be in our show tonight. Also, we got a call last night that Bill Murray wants to come on and talk with Guy Fieri tonight. So that's happening. So really, it's a bizarre, fun show tonight with Mark Ruffalo, Bill Murray, Guy Fieri, Bootsy Collins, and Miranda Lambert. All new Tonight Show starts right now.
Right. So, okay. So now everybody should have been able to hear that. So what was this about, Kate? How did Jimmy Fallon got a copy of your work?
Yeah. So I met Bootsy quite a few years ago. I was asked to do something at Moogfest. So I'm not sure what I did at Moogfest. Maybe I did a talk or something. I can't remember. But it was a bunch of years ago. And I did I came on stage as part of a jam for kids at Moogfest with DJ Lance Rock from Yo Gabba Gabba. And Mark Mothersbaugh, Malcolm Mooney, who else? There's Van Partable, who created Johnny Bravo, and I can't remember who else. And Bootsy, obviously. And so it was just very weird for me as a non-musician to be on stage with Bootsy doing a music jam. And I jammed, I gave Bootsy my notebook, which is a piano. I just pressed my hat. I have a baseball hat that triggers air horn noises because, that's what it does. And so I did that. And so I've known Bootsy for a few years. And then because I'm really good friends with his manager, and then Oscar, his manager, said, "Hey, Kate, Bootsy's going to be doing links for Jimmy Fallon. Could you make something to send in?" So I used my little studio here, and I used our platform, the conductive ink stickers and the circuit boards, and I made that poster, and I made a pizza box, an interactive pizza box. I asked my daughter to go, under quarantine to a certain pizza store, get some empty boxes, and printed out the sticker, and made that interactive, and put it ready for FedEx, Jimmy Fallon's address on it, and then FedEx came and took it, and then next thing I know, it was on the show. So that was kind of quite cool. But it's nice that it just shows how you can go from a concept to do something over a weekend that can then be seen by a lot of people very quickly, because it's doing something that surprises and delight and brings a little bit of magic.
This is great, Kate. I mean, thank you for sharing this story. And if people are interested, we talked just before starting this live stream of the potential for you to lead some workshops that we would organize at the Music Hackspace, and we were both very excited about this. So more to follow in the coming weeks about this. I'd love myself to attend and learn more how to build experiences with paper. Paper, MIDI, and music. And you have also a shop on novalia.co.uk where you sell product and starter kits, and it starts at very affordable prices for people to get started with this. I think
I could show what some of the components are for that if I can find them. Just bear with me. So it starts off with a conductive ink sticker. This is a sticker that has different circuits on it. So you'd normally just use this piece, not that piece. And it's sticky on both sides. So you can stick it down onto a piece of foam board. Normally we stick it onto a piece of foam board, which is then ends up being something like this. So this is a piece of Corex plastic with a sticker stuck on the other side, and we cut a hole there. And then we take one of the control modules and we press it on, and it connects on, it just sticks to the stickiness, and it projects its field through the paper, through the conductive ink, and then we peel this off and then just print out your own graphic and then just laminate the graphic on, and then you've made an interactive poster. That's how I made the Bootsy one. And that's what the basic platform is.
Oh. Wow, okay, this is great. Did you have something else that you wanted to show?
Yeah, sure. Let me think what I can show. So we made, oh, I think I lost my other camera. Oh dear, battery's flat. Just bear with me a second. Might need to switch to another camera. Although I actually can't do this.
Well, in the meantime, I will fill in the blanks. So just to elaborate on, I'm just going to elaborate on this workshop because Kate and I got excited about the idea of doing remote workshops, and I think that it's something that we are going to try at the Music Hackspace this Saturday. We have a Max introduction to audio and video with Max. Very entry level with Cassie Tarakajan, who works at Cycling 74, the company that makes Max. And we're going to try remote workshops where Cassie will lead and give a live stream at the beginning about the concepts, and then in Zoom with breakout rooms, people can work in groups of 3, and then Cassie will go and help them individually. And I think that's for remote working and remote learning a very interesting way to get access to technology and great workshop leaders that we want to support at the Music Hackspace in the coming weeks and months, as long as the COVID lasts and forces us to stay at home, but also further. We think that it could also eliminate the boundaries and have workshops with people happening in the US, leading from the US. In fact, Cassie is also in New York, but we will have people joining in from London and Europe. So yes, it's something that I'm very excited about, and I'm very glad that it resonates with some of the research that Kate has been doing to adapt her business to this lockdown situation. So yeah, if you're interested, just continue to check us out, and we'll be announcing that soon. So that's cool. A promotional aspect. Are you ready to show?
Yeah, it gave me the opportunity to be able to get my other camera going again. So this is something we made. It's called a songwriter's notebook, and the idea is a songwriter can write their song in there, and then they have an idea of the song in their head, and they want to, play with some sounds. So it has a fold-out Bluetooth MIDI keyboard, and then an app, and it links to the phone, and then you can play piano on your notebook, because notebooks are called notebooks because they're supposed to play notes. And it folds back like that if you like. And yeah, so you can play with that. I can't play piano. It's running Bluetooth MIDI, so it either pairs with our app or it pairs with it'll pair with GarageBand or Ableton or or whatever you want, because it's just running Bluetooth MIDI. But it's just kind of just combining, like, what you might imagine to happen if something was magical. I write in my notebook, I've got an idea, I'm like, why do I not just tap on the back of the notebook and imagine the piano sounds? Why is that not then captured in my phone? And if you press the record icon on the book and you're wearing headphones, it will open the microphone on your headphones and it will record your voice and what you're playing into this, and then saves that with the date. And then when you're coming back and looking through your book, you can go, oh, what was I hearing at the time? And then you can play that back. I can show another thing that we made. I made this was for I did a workshop at TED, and I made people could make their own interactive book. So the idea was, so this just runs our Play app. So you run the Play app, and then people could put their own stickers on the book, make it interactive. It pairs with that. And then when you touch this, it triggers sounds on the cell phone that you just upload to the web page. And then this basically triggers the sounds. And then we created animated GIFs. And then I tried to remix the Ed Sheeran song. It's my remix. And then I took the main loop and I remixed the main loop. And I made some other loops. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Oh, this is amazing. It's really, really inspiring. And so people can buy these products currently on your website, or where can they find them?
So they could buy the stickers and the circuit boards. So, we have two platforms. One is audio that plays sound out of the speaker, like I showed on this thing. Yeah, so that, yes, sorry, the answer to the question is yes, they can buy them on the website. I just get carried away with what I'm creating. I forget that people are supposed to buy things, and so this has the audio module on the back that then plugs into a surface sound actuator, which is the speaker, and a battery pack. And then there's an SD card slot, and you put your sounds on the SD card with a configuration file that we have a simple tool that runs on a PC or Mac that just says which touch point does which sound. You plug that in, it's detected, it pulls the content onto flash, you take the card out, and then when you touch this, it will play what you've configured. And a little like Ableton, we give the ability to put different audio into different channels. So, the drums in a channel, the vocals in a channel, and only one loop will play from one channel. And then you can quantize and set your quantization depth. The other module we have is a Bluetooth board. I think there's one somewhere. And what that does is that sends Bluetooth MIDI events to the smartphone. The app for that, we have a website where you create an account. You create an account and you upload your audio and your visuals, videos, animated GIFs. And then we have an app called Builder. So you open the Builder app, and then when you touch the touch points on the print, it highlights what you've touched. Then you touch that on the screen, the button that's highlighted, and then that lets you just click add audio, and you browse to your own folder, add audio, add video, choose the channel, set the depth of quantization, and a few other simple things. So it's all very easy. So when we make something like this, someone can just buy a sticker and the circuit board from our website and then use our tools. What takes 90% of the time is the creative. So getting lost in Ableton, getting lost in Photoshop, getting lost in After Effects, creating animated GIFs. And that's as it should be, right? We should be lost in the creative process, and then the technology should be about using simple tools to just be able to throw things together to then create an experience that's largely based on creative. And so that's why we've really focused on building tools. You know, I don't want to spend my day figuring out how to get my gas-powered soldering iron going and then how to change some code or something. I know that's kind of fun in itself, but I want to make these magical things, and so that's why we focus on the tools, and then just sell the circuit boards and the stickers on the website.
That's great. We actually have a question related to this, which I'm going to bring up here. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your name, but say I have a musical board game idea. Is there a way I could prototype it using anything from your website shop? What part of the technology is public?
Yeah, sure. So again, you can just the conductive ink sticker and the circuit board, and depending on what you might want that to do. If you want that to play audio, you know, through a speaker, you can just use the sticker, the circuit board, and the tool, and then you can get creative and make something. We don't want people to be spending their time getting their fingers covered in ink and, you know, soldering and doing the tech side. We want them to be focused on the creative idea that they've got. Or if it's Bluetooth, again, a sticker, print out your own graphic, stick it on top. That will Bluetooth to our app, and you can build something in our app without any coding. Or if you just want to use it as the MIDI output, you can just read that MIDI output in and write your own app, or, you know, for a smartphone, or have the MIDI come in onto a Mac, and create your own thing around that.
I have a... Okay, so, I'm sorry. My related question is, how would you embed directly a speaker into a device you're building? Let's say this board game idea. Could you completely eliminate the, or how easy it would be to completely eliminate the phone or anything that would depend on the interaction with the third-party machine to make it completely embedded and autonomous?
Yeah, so we like to use the surface sound actuators that just stick onto a piece of card or foam, to, you know, to allow the sound to come from the object, and that's what we primarily use. So, you know, if you had a board game, if you just built out a little bit of a card area or something that kind of covered the module, and then stuck the actuator on that, you know, and if you just get creative with that three-dimensional shape that's on the board game, that's like a little house or a little car, or, you know, looks somehow relevant, then that would hide the sound activating device, and then you touch it, and then the sound would come from, you know, just from within the object. So that's how you would hide that away, I think.
Okay, I understand. Well, this is great. There's a few topics we haven't talked about. And there's many aspects of your life that you know could fill a few seminars. You touched briefly on the Cambridge research. You did your PhD there, and are you still involved being a researcher there as well?
I'm not really, no. One of my colleagues is. So we have a big project where we work with graphene, and we work with the Cambridge Graphene Centre, and so we have a big project with them, and, you know, so I get involved in that, and I do that. I don't lead that project, but, you know, we're involved in understanding how graphene can be used to add conductivity to things, and we work with them to create demos and things that they can use to show what graphene can do. But I'm not like teaching there, or, as you know, like part of a group or anything. That was a little while ago. But I was based in Cambridge for a long time until I came here a few years ago. And when I came here, I became a visiting scholar at NYU in the music education department, which was cool.
Right. And how much of your research did fuel into the idea at Novalia?
So it's more really the philosophy, you know, of how I do things. So I'm always about how can we combine existing tech, combine pieces of equipment, things that are around us, with some software to create something that's much bigger than was there before, to enable us to do things we weren't able to do before. And so that's largely what I did in my PhD. I basically got all the equipment we had in the lab, wired it all together, connected it into a computer with LabVIEW, and made this, like, you know, crazy piece of measurement kit that was, you know, could do things you could never do before. But I just used, you know, what was already there, and wired a bunch of cables together. And then I used the machines that they have to make these silicon chips that were 1.4 millimeters by 1.4 millimeters. And then I used we had an e-beam lithography machine that had a spot size of 10 nanometers, and so you could use that to write in PMMA, polymethyl methacrylate, which is also plexiglass, I think. You write these things, and I drew these circuits that you then etch, and then it created patterns in silicon, these nanowires. So I could create these circuits that were made transistors out of wires of silicon that were about 30 nanometers wide, and then dunked that in liquid helium. So measured it at 4.2 Kelvin. I was able to, because at that temperature, the electrical noise is so low that electrons can become trapped on little pieces of silicon in that wire and can't get off. And so I was able to make devices and sensors that could move electrons through a wire one by one, and a sensor could observe the movement of those, and then I could plot that out on the screen. So my PhD came just down to like one little graph that I made that just showed that I moved one electron one by one. But you know, that's not what we do. But the philosophy of how we use what's around us to create things, to measure things, to do things that weren't possible, that weren't possible before, that's the philosophy that's ran through me since I was a kid. You know, that's what I've always done. And you know, my gran taught me that you cut your coat from the cloth at hand, and you know, that's stuck with me all of my life. That's what I always try to do with anything.
Right. And speaking of philosophy, and also knowing that you have to go in about 5 minutes,
Yeah.
there is an interesting philosophy that you've been vocal about in the past few months or years about the space outside of our brain and how it relates to what's inside. Would you care to elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, sure. I'll try and say a little bit about that. Yeah, because I have a doctor's appointment, so which is like everything else. Life is a live stream right now, so I have to go to that digitally. I just think a lot about what our mind is, and I like to spend a lot of time in nature and in the forest. And you know, and our mind is not an organ. You know, like our brain is an organ that's in our heads. Like, what is our mind? You know, is our mind different to our brain? And what I started to think is that we have two minds. I'm in two minds. We have an inner mind and an outer mind. And our outer mind is everything that is around us. It's every journey we go on. It's the people, the objects, the places, the experiences. They're all parts of our outer mind. And that connects through to our inner mind, which is in our head and the rest of our body, via our 5 known senses: sight, sound, taste, smell, touch. And that data comes in, and it connects the two together, and that creates a full mind. And so mindfulness is when you connect your inner mind to your outer mind. If you say to someone, where do you have your best ideas, or how do you have your best ideas, they might say, oh, in the shower, or when I go for a walk, or when I sit in a certain chair, or when I chew my pencil. If that is how you think, and if that is how you do your best thinking, then how can those external places not be part of their mind or part of your mind? You know, it's like a spider without the web. It is not a full spider. You take an animal out of the forest and put them in a zoo, and then they can't thrive. And so our environment, our journeys, the people around us, how we do things, the rituals and routines that we have are hugely important to creating a full mind, and to how, you know, we can actually stay mentally healthy. And our ego tells us that this is us and that we exist in the universe, but our ego is getting in the way of understanding who we really are. You know, we really are the universe. And so, you know, we can't be arrogant enough to think that we can live in this world without actually being a part of this world, and the world is us. You can't look at someone else and think that they are someone else. They are you. They are a part of you. You know, if you're having an argument or a conversation with another person, it's the two of you together is the real thing. It's not you, it's not them, it's both of you. And so, yeah, that's just, you know, what I believe. I believe that our mind is everything around us. And so you need to curate your space, your journeys, where you are, what you do. You need to look after everything that's around you as much as you look after any other part of your body. So yeah, that's what I believe. That's what I believe our mind is.
That's great. Well, so thank you so much for sharing that. It's definitely interesting, and I can relate also to that. Like, I have ideas in specific places, and
Yeah.
our space is an extension of our mind, or we can project, we can distribute also our knowledge, our cognition to artifacts around us. And music is in fact an interesting process where the representation itself is a projection of our mind, which brings inspiration as well as we work through a piece of music or represent it, and that representation feeds back into the system. So that's a super interesting topic, and thank you for sharing those thoughts, and thank you for coming today. I know I have to let you go. We could have talked about hydroponics, and I know you have a camera set up on your on your, you know, inner culture. I don't know how to call that.
I can show it briefly. Let me make sure I get the right camera, because I can't see properly. In the next room, it's just in our laundry room. I've set up a hydroponic system, and I have a live feed coming out of that where we're growing all of our greens, our lettuce, our herbs and things. So yeah, that's kind of a fun thing to share. But maybe that's another story for another time.
Yes, I guess we won't have the time to elaborate too much of that, but it's fantastic to see how you've hacked your house as well as your the company, that the product you're building are all DIY, and now you're bringing the outside world to watch into all of the different aspects of this. It's great to see.
Everything is connected, you know. And so I'm pulling live streams in from any part of my house or anything. So any web camera or security camera or something becomes all part of everything that we can do, which is kind of cool.
Great. Well, thank you, Ilya, for your question and for making your name readable in a way that I can read. Thank you, Martin, Rob, and everyone, Marek, who posted some comments here. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Kate, and I hope to see you soon when we have a workshop date. I will let everybody in the community know. So subscribe on the newsletter for the Music Hack Space, and you'll receive information about when that is going to happen. So, Kate,
so much.
I'll see you soon, and thank you again for coming today.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much. And as we say on the radio from Woodstock, I will say 7-3 and clear on your final.
All right. So thank you. Goodbye, everybody.